Well, I'm a big proponent of starting on time for valuing everybody's time that's here. I was told that there's no introduction, so I just get up here and start talking. So, did everybody enjoy the keynote at lunchtime? I talked to a few of you, and I heard him through here. He was pretty energetic. So, well, good afternoon. Thank you so much for attending my session. I think the really exciting part for me is that nonprofits, you already have that kind of kindness within you anyway. That's part of your mission and your goal. So I'm hoping that I just add to it and maybe spark a little bit something extra that maybe you haven't considered doing, or giving you examples of how kindness can fit into your culture if you don't already have that as part of your values, or if you don't have a kindness culture or a kindness program. This presentation, I hope, will ignite that for you. But let's get started. My name is Cindy Rowe, and, well, I own a marketing company, and I've been in business for 7 years, but my passion has always been kindness. And probably for the last 8 years, and I'll get a little bit into my story, but I serve small business owners with anything and everything to do with marketing on the daily. I do a lot of social media, and I'm also a mom of two, a 17-year-old. I was checking my phone earlier because he's in a golf tournament this morning, and I was waiting for the results, but he must not be done yet. And I have a 21-year-old daughter. I'm also a bonus mom to a 15-year-old girl and a 14 or 13-year-old boy. So very busy, and I love speaking. I love getting in front of organizations and talking about the power of kindness. So my first thing for you, who or what is the first thing that you think of when you hear the word kindness? Shout it out. Don't be shy. Altruism, okay. Any person come in mind? Healthcare workers, great. Objects, anything. So, like I mentioned, I am a marketer, and I'm on social media all the time. So I posted the same question, and to get a feeling of what people actually think of when they hear that word. And here's the results. They're kind of silly. I mean, there's really good ones up there. So Maya Angelou, Mother Teresa, Princess Diana, and the most popular response was Mr. Rogers, which I thought was really great. The oddball up there was Barney. And to me, he brings silliness and joy and happiness. But I not necessarily, would think of him as kind. And then the objects were balloon, hearts, and rainbows, and I have to agree with that. I symbolize kindness with, hearts and rainbows. But looking at those four individuals, what do you think they represent besides kindness? Strength, courage, power. I posted a poll in the app and asked if you thought kindness was a weakness. And when you look at these people, you don't see weakness at all. So I want you to keep that in the back of your mind throughout this presentation. These people and kindness, right? By a show of hands, who has been a recipient of a random act of kindness? Come on, you all have, actually. I swear, right? So anybody want to share a random act of kindness that they've been a recipient of? Nice, carried the soup to the table. Yeah, that was really nice. Anybody else? I always get Starbucks. Everybody in every presentation always says, somebody paid it forward at Starbucks. Has anybody had that happen? You have, yeah. I've never had that happen. I'm waiting. Actually, my daughter had that happen, and she didn't realize what went on, and so she just went on with her day. And then at night, she was like, Mom, so it was really cool. I was in the line at Starbucks, and my coffee was free. I was like, what did you do? She's like, oh, I just drove away. And I'm like, no. I'm like, that was a line of people paying for everybody else's. She's like, oh my gosh. She's like, I'm going to go tomorrow and do that. I'm like, okay. I'm like, that's bad karma. You have to. So I have been a recipient of random acts of kindness, and I do random acts of kindness. But it wasn't until recently that I came across this study by Harvard and Yale, and they found that one kind act has the potential to reach 125 people in one day. That, to me, is mind-blowing, right? Like, one simple act. And that could be simply opening up the door for somebody, right? We don't even think of that as a kind act, but it really truly is. Smiling, saying good morning to your coworker, those are kind acts. So when I said, you guys, everybody has had a kind act given to them. But the cool part about this research, this study that they did, they couldn't pinpoint what social aspect of it was. So if you were at Starbucks and you took a selfie and you posted on Instagram, they couldn't track how many people were inspired to do a kind act just from that post. So this is just literally you seeing me do something or you being a recipient of it, and then you feel like you want to give it back to somebody else. You want to pay it forward. Which this is, to me, shows it's actually proven that kindness is contagious. It has a ripple effect. And so what we do, those small little things, actually do make a difference. So why am I up here talking about kindness? Why am I qualified to be here today? I'm going to share my story, just a small part of it. 31 days that changed my life. So about 8 years ago, if you can envision this, I was an executive at a financial institution. I was married to my high school sweetheart. I had what looked like a dream house. The only thing that was missing was a fun car. I had a caravan because I had 2 kids that were in sports. So, but everything on the outside looked amazing, perfect, picture perfect. But on the inside, things weren't so great. I was miserable at my job. I felt like I didn't have an impact on anybody. And I did an actual research day, and I don't have time to share that for you, but I proved to myself that I was worth more than this desk job. My marriage was horrible, and I was raising 2 almost teenagers, and if there are any parents in the room with almost teenagers, you know my pain. But in all honesty, like, nothing horrible happened to me. It was just all these things just seemed so heavy. And we've all been in those ruts, right? Where just, tomorrow's going to be a better day. Tomorrow's going to be a better day. But it never got better. And I decided I was going to venture into a new opportunity. And I joined a network marketing company. And part of their program was that you read 10 pages of a good book a day. Prior to that, I hated reading. I would read Nicholas Sparks' books because he published 1 book a year, and it took me the entire year to read it. But I'm a rule follower, and I really wanted to succeed. Like, I really felt like this is something that could change my life. And so I started reading, and they're professional development, personal development books. And a few books in, I'm like, yeah, my confidence was building. I could feel things changing, but I didn't know how to connect the dots. And again, my life was miserable. My husband at the time hated this network marketing company, even though I excelled very quickly. I leaned on a friend, and I was like, man, life sucks. Like, I don't know what to do. And he's like, you should do a random act of kindness. And I laughed, and I'm pretty sure I rolled my eyes at the same time. I'm a big eye roller. That's coming back to haunt me with my daughter. She's a big eye roller. But I'm like, why would that help my situation? And he's like, it's simple. He's like, once you do something kind for somebody else, it actually takes your thoughts away from your problems. I was like, interesting. All right, might as well try it. So I tried. I did a random act of kindness, and I did another one. It was about the third one that I could feel things change a little bit. I was like, there's something to this. Now I was approaching my milestone birthday, my 40th birthday, and my birthday is on Halloween, which is a really cool birthday. Not so much as an adult, but as a kid, it was awesome. And I was like, you know what? For my 40th birthday, the best gift I can give to myself is to do 31 days of kindness. So I challenged myself. I wrote out a list of things that I was going to do, and every day of my birthday month, I did a random act. Now, some of these were super, super small, like, baking extra cookies and taking it to a neighbor. I filled up the carts in Aldi with quarters, which is one of my favorites still to this day because it's easy and people look at you funny. I paint rocks, and if anybody has ever painted rocks, high five to you because those are hard. But as I would go on my walks with my dog, I would leave some in the park or on the bike path just for somebody to find. I bought a scratch-off lottery ticket and taped it to a gas pump, wrote encouraging notes and put them on random places throughout the community or wherever I was that day. So really simple things. And I shared them on social, and the only reason I shared them is I wanted to inspire other people. This is really easy stuff. I didn't want high fives. I didn't want pats on the back. Just, you should do it. So, and actually that picture is probably one of my favorites. I still do this one today. I go to Aldi because they have cheap flowers, and I buy a couple dozen roses, and I go to a nursing home, and I ask the receptionist who is celebrating a birthday today or who hasn't had a visitor in a long time. I'd like to give them the flowers. Since COVID, I can't actually go back and give them to them, so I trust that she's going to deliver them. But it's a cool moment, and usually prior to COVID, you really get to have a warm conversation with somebody that really just needs a nice conversation, right? Like they don't have that. So yeah, that was from that. The person I was on October 1st to the person that I became October 31st, two completely different people. One, I was bitter, angry, disgusted. On the 31st, I was happy, positive, outgoing, maybe a little lighter in my step. And I thought, there's something to this. But it didn't really click until actually looking back a few years ago, how this all connected to where I am today. Move forward a few years, I left the financial institution. I started my own marketing company. I was working, building my clientele. We filed for divorce, which was mutual, and actually we're great friends and things are good. I think we do really well co-parenting. And then shortly after that, so now I'm a single mom running a business, not making hardly any money, and I get in a car accident on my way from one client to the next. And it was horrible. I was going down a road and the lady stopped and then she pulled out and I T-boned her, probably going anywhere from 45 to 55 miles an hour. They sent me to the ER. They let me go and said, you are lucky. You're gonna have a headache and you're probably gonna be sore, but you're walking away. And I'm like, okay. A week went by and I was not okay. I called my doctor, went in to see her. She's like, I think you're suffering from a concussion, so you should probably take it easy. Okay, another week went by, and I call her, I'm like, things are getting worse. Like, I can't see, everything's fuzzy, my head feels like it's gonna explode. I had all these symptoms. She's like, well, we need to get you into a neurologist. Well, that was around the holidays, and we know how doctors are around the holidays. I couldn't get in until the middle of January, and that's when I was diagnosed with post-concussion syndrome, which I'd never heard of, and after research, I found out that it's a concussion wrapped around trauma. So the way you heal from it is completely different than a regular concussion. I also had post-traumatic headaches, severe whiplash, and PTSD. So they basically said, we don't know how long your recovery is going to be, but for right now, you can't be on electronics. And I was like, great. What am I supposed to do? I have a business. Like, that's how I make my money, is I'm on the computer. And I was working 10 to 12 hours a day before this, and they're telling me 30 minutes max a day. So I had a dilemma. Do I give up my dream of having my own business or and find a job, or do I let my clients know what's going on? And I did just that. So I met with each of them, and I said, you can get out of your contract if you want. I won't be able to do the obligations that we, agreed upon, but, I don't know how long this is gonna last. It could be 3 months, it could be 6 months, it could be a year. They're not telling me anything. Not one of my clients let me go. They said, we just want you to recover. We want you to get better. So do whatever you can, and we'll make it work. They still paid me the money that they were paying me before, and I was doing half, if not less than that. It was incredible, and that's when I realized I built my business with kindness, and they were extending me kindness in the time that I needed it. Today, so that was 2018. Today, all of those clients are still mine, and you better bet if they ask for anything above and beyond, I'm giving it to them. I'm not charging them. They help me in a time of need that and we've got an incredible bond. So it was only after I reflected, right? Like, I didn't realize those 31 days had such an impact in who I am. It changed my values. It changed how I built my business. And I really put that kindness experiment that I did as the one thing that helped me become successful. And that's when I realized that kindness has a ripple effect, and it starts with you. So how does this all relate to what you guys do, right? That's probably what you're thinking, right? I wanted to get your feedback, and this is interactive, so no quiet time now. Take a few minutes and let me know what you think your definition of kindness is. And there's no wrong answer, and everybody might have a different answer, but if you could take a few minutes, I'm gonna grab a drink of water, and let me know what you think your definition of kindness is. Sometimes I bring candy to encourage people to participate, but I did not do that today. Anybody want to share their definition? It could be just a few words, doesn't have to be a sentence. Yes. Treating others with dignity and care. Great. Anyone else want to share? Yes. Thinking of the other person first, right on. Yeah. Selfless. Yeah. Sense of calm, empathy, need to take time and be calm. Those are great. Yeah. Showing someone else that they matter. Those are great. I'm clapping. This is my definition. It's a commitment in thought, word, and action to leave everyone and everything better. Because really, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Giving that smile, bringing that peace. And I put everything because I really think that our earth matters too, and leaving some place better than where you found it is always a good thing. And I always take a trash bag when I go on my walks because litter is everywhere and it bothers me. So that's the definition, having those thoughts, right, going forward. And I know that after the pandemic, we've all been dealing with some of these things in our organizations, like inflation, workplace shortages, the fear of a possible recession that they've been talking about and talking about and talking about. I hope they just keep talking. But what that leads to is burnout, which we're all feeling, increased turnover, and unfortunately decreased donations because people are worried about, the possible recession. What I've learned is that these are some of the top issues: driving change, aligning programs with your mission, and creating a desired culture. What's the magic word here? Kindness. Kindness can actually have such an impact on all of these things. Here's some shocking stats that I found just researching for the nonprofit industry. 30% of nonprofit employees are burnt out. And 60% of nonprofit leaders feel used up by the end of the day. And 95% of nonprofit professionals actually have experienced or seen burnout in their team. Anybody feel those pains? Other stats that I have, 87% of organizations cite culture and engagement as one of their top challenges. Disengaged employees cost companies $350 billion a year annually, in lost productivity. And finally, the number one reason people quit is because they don't feel appreciated. So if you had a kindness culture, or you had some kind of program in your organization, some of these things would be alleviated. I'm hoping that by the end of my presentation, that you truly understand that it does pay to be kind in business, in your organization, and just as a person in general. I have stories upon stories of how kindness has impacted organizations, how kindness has impacted companies, how kindness has impacted schools, right? I speak to all of those groups, and it's really fascinating. I get really fascinating that it wasn't just my experience. It's fascinating because it's all backed by research. People are doing research on this stuff. 93% of employees would stay with a kind employer or boss. 10% would take a kinder boss over a raise, or a 10% raise. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. That's incredible. Everybody wants money, right? They'd rather have a kind boss. And finally, organizations that focus on a kindness culture retain employees 8 to 10 times more than companies that don't. So if retention, engagement, burnout, if those are issues that you're having, I strongly encourage you to think about how kindness can be incorporated into your organization. Do you feel like right now your organization is a place of kindness and respect? Everybody's got each other's back. We're all working towards the same goal. That's fantastic. That's really great to hear. That's not the norm. And I think the other part about what we've learned from the pandemic is that kindness has a place, right? And that we are all human, And at the end of the day, that's really what matters. It's not about being somebody that you're not. It's not about being soft or a pushover, which is what I get all the time. Like, if I'm kind, then people are just going to take advantage of me. That's not it. And I'll go in a little deeper about that too. So the research has showed that those organizations that have incorporated kindness, this is what happens. It reduces burnout, boosts productivity, increases energy, lightens the mood, increases happiness, forges strong team relationships, builds trust, builds positive connections, increases engagement, and lowers stress. There's not one bad thing on here. Like, this is insane. This is like the dream list of all board members. This is the dream list of all, top leaders. And it all comes down to how those, the staff and employee feels. The cool part is there's more research. Like, there's so much research, it's amazing. And thankfully, I didn't have to do it. I'm not a fan of a lot of research, but when you do a kind act, your dopamine levels increase and your serotonin levels increase. Those are the happy hormones. And what happens is there's positive changes, and it decreases your pain, heart rates, anxiety, depression, and blood pressure. I am rarely sick, and I feel like some of it has to do with the kindness that I do on a regular basis. I also take a lot of supplements, but I really do feel like kindness has that. And my experiment that I did 8 years ago, I still do every October. I still have my 31 days of birthday kindness, and I've actually expanded it because I felt like, why am I only doing this once a year? And so I do, I call it Make a Difference Monday. And every Monday, I'm just intentional about doing a kind act. And it has really helped me flex my kindness muscle. When we work out, if you stop for months, then you kind of lose what you've already gained. So this really helps me keep it top of mind. After 8 years of being what I call a kindness ambassador, I'm still learning. Just ask my husband. It's so much easier to be kind to a stranger than it is to a loved one. But the difference between me now and then is I realize when I've made a mistake, or it's more heightened, like, oh, that probably wasn't the kindest thing to do. And I go back and try to make amends, and I work on it. But this is just the research that's backed behind it. It's not just what I've been experiencing, it's what's actually happening. So I say kindness works here, and I've been driving this home for probably the last 6 months, because the organizations that have a kindness program, their employees have 26% more energy, 36% more job satisfaction, and 44% more commitment to the organization. I'll share a story. My new husband, I actually just celebrated 1 year, got remarried, and he's a school administrator. He applied for a position, a promotion, and he was pretty certain he was going to get it. And about 2 weeks go by, and he hasn't heard anything. And he finally gets a phone call. It's from a supervisor from the downtown office, and they're like, "Hey, Scott, we just want to let you know you didn't get the job." And he was crushed. But the guy went on and he said, "But here's why. We think you need to work on X, Y, Z. And this is what we're going to do to help you get there. And over the course of the year, we'd like to work with you on this. And next year, let's reevaluate this promotion." That was amazing. I don't know if that happens very often, but I share it in my presentations because of 3 things. The guy took time to call. It took a 5-minute phone call, and it saved an employee. He could have emailed, he could have sent a letter, or what I'm finding out is that they don't do anything at all. And for an internal candidate, I think that's horrible. They could have, they also put out a plan of action to help him grow, to help him get where he needed to be. And then they said they were going to do a follow-up. They were going to relook at this. If any of those things didn't happen, I'm pretty sure Scott would have found a different job. But he's still there, and he's still working at it. So it's fingers crossed. But they would have lost a really good employee. He has a major, he has a lot of passion for what he does and the impact that he has on the children that he works with. So I'm grateful that they did what they did. So I want us to think about what kindness might look like at work in your organization. And I'm not talking about the acts of kindness that I shared earlier, but situations. So I'll give you a quick example. When I worked at the bank, I was the vice president of marketing. I worked closely with the CFO and the CEO. One day, because I'm on the same floor as the CFO, I went and shared a really cool idea. I was really excited. I was like, hey, Don, I got this cool idea. Do you have a minute? He's like, yep. And he never really looked up, and he's still working, and I give him my idea, and he doesn't really say anything. So then I go back to my office. I'm like, well, maybe that wasn't a great idea. After all, later on that same day, we're in the president's office, and I think we're doing some kind of powwow about something else. And Don is like, hey, Duff was the president. He's like, I got this really cool idea. And he tells the idea. He actually expanded on it a little bit, which made it a better idea. But he never said the original idea was from me. And I was like, whoa. That was the line in the sand for me. That's when I knew I needed to get out of there. But not giving credit where credit is due is what I'm looking for. So take a few minutes, jot down a few things that you can think of that what does kindness look like in your organization? And then you're gonna shout out some answers. Just 2 or 3. Think about maybe situations that you've been in, maybe situations you'd like to see. And then I'll share my list. And my list actually grows every time I have this slide up because I get so many fantastic responses. So, does anybody want to share? Yes. Take extra work, is that what you said? Yeah, take extra work on for somebody that's dealing with something personal or something in their personal life. I like that. Yes. Asking for input, feedback, yes. Yes. Shh. Yeah, sharing feedback. And it's hard, especially if you're in the leadership role, to accept that feedback. But I think it's really necessary if you want to grow those strong team relationships. And realizing we're all human and we're all growing and we're all imperfect, right? And hopefully, the ego aside, you can learn from it. All right, I'll share my ideas. So pushing back an idea that you don't agree with looks like kindness. Speaking up when voices aren't being heard. I've seen that. I lived that. Honest, direct, and tough feedback. I had to put mine up there. Giving credit where credit is due. Listening without interrupting, I think is rock solid. Treating others with respect. Valuing the views of others, especially if they're not your own. Like, that's what makes a well-rounded team, when you have all different types of views. Communicating with a personal touch. The example of my husband, I think, is that accommodating personal issues and fostering a sense of inclusion. So this is what we've come up with so far. But yeah, that's what kindness looks like at work, and a supportive environment. This slide, it's not very often that you hear that kindness has the impact on efficiency, productivity, or the profit margins. Am I correct? You never hear about that. But like in today's competitive environment where we focus on all those things, we're forgetting about that little element of kindness that can actually improve our employee relationships. It can boost those morales, right? Which will boost productivity. And in the end, it really does impact the bottom line. And that's honestly why I'm here. I want to drive that home to businesses and organizations, that really kindness does belong. Normally, the culture, this would be average. These are the things when you're looking at organizational culture that seem to be important, and that's integrity, intelligence, teamwork, and tenacity. Those are great things, nothing wrong with that. But I feel like, you know what I'm going to say, right? The best and most highly performing cultures include kindness and empathy. The programs that you can put into place, this really takes it to the next level. And I truly believe that kindness could be your secret weapon. And in fact, over the last, I would say 3 years, I've realized that kindness is my competitive advantage. And there's no other marketing company in my area that I could tell you works like I do with the value of kindness. I know, in fact, that there's one that does not even know that word, but we won't go into that story. So we're getting to that point of you're like, okay, enough research. You've given me so many statistics. My mind is blown, whatever. Tell me how to do this in my organization. So before we can do that, though, we know that it needs to start where? At the top, right? To have a sustaining program, it really needs to start from the leadership, because behavior drives culture. Behavior drives culture. You can say you're a kind person, and you can't treat people like crap. You can have a bad day, but you can't continually treat people that way. I have a really great story. You already know how old I am, so I'm not going to date myself by saying it was 20 some odd years ago. I was working at the Rockford Area Convention and Visitors Bureau, and our CEO at the time, she was a Disney fanatic. She loved Disney. In fact, she sent some of us to the Disney Institute, and if anybody ever has the opportunity to go, please go. It was an amazing experience. But she collected those Disney figurines, those plastic Donalds and Mickey, Minnies, whatever. And she had hundreds of them on her windowsill. And she encouraged us to take one of those and give it to a coworker if we ever saw them doing something amazing, going above and beyond, maybe having a great phone conversation or whatever it was. But the key is that they can't see you do it. So they couldn't be at their desk, or it had to be before or after work. So when you come to work and you see, oh my gosh, I got Disney characters, it always brought a little bit of fun, right? The next step was that you were not supposed to keep them, so you had to pay them forward. So the goal was to listen and be proactive about what everybody else was doing too. And I honestly believe she was ahead of her time, with building that team collaboration and cheering each other on. And it was done in such a quiet way, but we all knew it, and it had such a great impact on everybody. So I think over the last few years that I've been working with organizations, created, 3 elements of a kindness program or a kindness culture. And that includes valuing employees, allowing for flexibility, and having a positive work environment. Diving a little deep, valuing employees, showing appreciation and recognition. I actually had a conversation with my dad. My dad owned a business, and he was not a kind boss. He was not a kind father. The way he was the old man, right? Like, if I yell at you, then that's going to motivate you. That was his thing. But I had asked him, or he asked me what I was talking about, and I had told him, he's like, well, that's easy. You just show appreciation. I was like, wow. I was actually surprised. So showing appreciation and recognition. Start meetings with recognition. So I'm actually on the board of 2 nonprofits. I'm the executive board for the Junior League of Rockford, and we just had a leadership change, and our new president started the meeting on Tuesday, and she's like, I want to celebrate. She's like, so I want to hear your celebrations. You can celebrate yourself, you can celebrate somebody else at the table, or you can celebrate somebody else in the organization. And I was like, this is such a positive way to start. Like, we're meeting fresh. We're all new in our different roles, so it was just a really great way to start the meeting. Saying thank you, but being specific about it. Hey, Cindy, thank you so much for lifting up the jug of water, because I can't do that. Thank you so much for helping me with the copy machine, because it's my least favorite thing here. Thank you so much for helping me out when you knew I needed to hit that deadline and I wasn't going to be able to do it by myself. Making a right list, and then dropping it randomly. So I actually need to do this more at home, but we always hear when we do things wrong. So if we catch people and make a list of things that they've done right, even if it's little things, and then just let them know sporadically that you've seen them. I think that's really cool. One-on-one meetings, I think, is a great opportunity to not only build relationships, but finding out that feedback. Some organizations, that's impossible, so maybe having open door policies or open hours where they can come in and have a conversation, whether it's just about their day or maybe about something else, that's festering and bothering them. That's another great idea. So offering personal and professional development opportunities, people know that if you are, putting money into them, that they feel valued and respected, right? And recognizing birthdays and anniversaries is such a small thing, but it really does mean a lot. And that can be for your volunteers as well as your staff too. So diving a little deeper into flexibility, thinking outside the box. And I think another great thing that came out of the pandemic is some of these things. We're more adaptable to some of this. We're more open to allowing, flexibility in the workplace. Flexible work hours, working remotely, job sharing, compressed work week. I tried some of this stuff with the financial institution and I got shut down. But that was a long time ago. Positive work environment, open communication, like the 2 ladies said, like being able to give feedback, but also accepting that feedback as well. Opportunities for feedback, discouraging toxic behavior. So if you are trying to instill kindness into the organization, then you have to put an end to the things that don't make sense. So any toxic behavior, and then rewarding that positivity and the positive behavior. Again, offering those growth opportunities and having a comfortable and safe environment. People need to know that when they come to work, they're safe. So when you have a kindness program, kindness culture, when it's part of your organization, really amazing things happen. And I'm almost sound like I'm on a repeat button, but the stuff is incredible. Like, kindness has such a huge impact on businesses. Better financial performance, we all want that. Reduced costs, we all want that. More efficiency, absolutely. Increased productivity, higher employee retention, Greater contentment, improved morale, higher motivation, higher engagement and participation, and a sense of belonging. Are you guys thinking, yeah, this is pretty incredible? I feel like this would work. What are the next steps? You giving me enough already? So I think, as I mentioned, anything that is going to work long-term has to come from the top. So you'll need to know what it takes to be a kind leader. My dad was not one of them. But over the last few years, I've developed what I call the 6 C's of kind leaders, which are the characteristics that I believe a kind leader should have. It used to be 5, but last month I met with a small group of women leaders for a training, and they gave me the 6th one, and I asked if I could add it. So I did. But clarity. Your employees, your staff, they need to know what they're doing there, what they're responsible for, right? They need to know what their goals are. And more importantly, they need to know where the organization is going and the organization goals and how they fit into that piece. Candor, having direct, open, and honest communication. It's not always fun to deliver news. So having, that kind candor really does make a difference. Being consistent, your actions have to speak louder than your words. You have to show up, and you can still have a bad day, but lead in a kind way. And I liked what you said earlier, is that sometimes it takes that pause, right? And reflecting like, okay, and I when you're in a rough situation or a tough situation, it is time to step back, have a breather, and then approach the situation in a kind way. Compassion, walking in their shoes, having that empathy. We are all human. We are all going to experience different things at different times. Courage. Sometimes being kind is really, really, really hard. Like when you have to let somebody go or you're calling them out on something, but there is a way to approach it in the kind manner. And then the next one, the last one that the women leaders told me about was communicate, and I thought that was really, really key. Being open and communicating what's happening with the organization and letting them know, where they stand, and having that open door policy of the open feedback, I think is right on. These are the 5 things that I think that a kindness program should include. Being adaptable. So what that means is, having a program in place that if we do go into a recession, that you can easily pivot. If your strategy or your goals change, it will easily pivot along with that. Accountable. You need to hold people accountable. Who's in charge of this program? It would be, the management team, the board. They would be the ones that would be putting it out there and making sure that nasty behavior is not continuing, and applauding the right behavior. Measurable. A program isn't a good program if it's not measured. So finding a baseline and then deciding how you're going to keep track and how you're going to measure if it's working or not. You can do that by exit interviews, surveying, but just decide how you are going to measure it. Understandable. People need to know, 1, that it exists, and 2, that it's easy to implement and easy to understand. And finally, comprehensive. This means it needs to fit all levels, and everybody across the board needs to be involved within the program, or it will not work. So it's happening from the top down, but it's supported from the bottom up. That's crucial. So the 3 steps, just to reiterate, you have to have goals, so you have to know why you're doing this in the first place. You have to know how you're going to do it, how you're going to implement it, what's that look like, and then how you're going to measure it. So we're nearing the end, but you're probably like, okay, this is great, but I don't know how to implement it into my organization. I'm just me, right? Like, how am I going to convince everybody else that this is going to happen? It doesn't matter what your job title is. Like I said earlier in the presentation, like, it starts with you, you know? So you could just start something yourself. You can take one bit of this tomorrow, you know, and implement it tomorrow. But lead by example. Maybe just say good morning to everybody, whoever you walk by when you walk in the office, right? They'll be like, wow, what happened to her? You know, like, but foster a sense of community. Encourage communication and feedback. Evaluate and check in. What I think is really great is when people ask you, like, what are your goals here in the organization? Like, where do you see yourself in a few years? And making sure that they're on the right path, because that really makes people feel valued, right? Like, wow, they actually care. They want me to stick around. And then remember the golden rule, you know, do unto others as you want done to you. It was funny, I was speaking at a nursing conference in April, and a lady shouted out, what about the platinum rule? I'd never heard about the platinum rule. So the platinum rule is do unto others as they want done to themselves. So you do something that they want to be done to them, right? Make sense? I thought that was really good. But I'm keeping the golden rule up there. And then celebrating successes. These are all really inexpensive things that each and every one of you can start. You don't need an official program. You don't need a boss's approval to tell somebody they did a great job, to leave a sticky note, to buy those Disney figurines and put them on the table. You don't need permission for that. You know, you don't need permission to say, hey, if you want, let's go for a walk. You can vent. Those are just simple things that you can do. Now, to make a long-standing, you know, success, for you should have a program, or you should have, you know, a culture shift towards the kindness. But for right now, you can walk away knowing you can make some kind of difference in your organization, or just in your personal life in general. All right, by a show of hands, who is walking away with just one bit of information that they can take away today? Great, I really appreciate that. So the best way that you can help me is by letting me know, by taking this really quick survey. So if you want to get out your phone, scan the QR code, put in the word kindness, and if you take it's a really quick survey, but if you take the survey, you'll receive at the end, you'll receive a Kindness Works Here download. It's posters that you can put up or print out. You can hand them off to people, but it's something that I think every organization would benefit from. But it really does help me. In the survey, please tell me what you loved about my presentation, and let me know also what you did not like, so I can do less of it. Because my mission is to get in front of a lot of organizations and businesses, and the only way I can do that is by your feedback. Yes? Oh, really? Oh. Well, no, I got that too. So anyway, if you don't have the survey, if you want, you can send me an email, and I will send you the download. How about that? Yeah, that should have been a survey code. So if you guys have done that, just put your phone down and give me a smile. I'm going to take another sip. And I'm going to leave you with one more thought before we go. Is it really going to my website? Yeah. Okay. Well, remember Mr. Rogers? Yeah. So does everybody know who Mr. Rogers is? Okay. I remember watching him. So again, dating me. But These are the wise words from Mr. Rogers and what I really wanted to leave you here today. So there are 3 ways to ultimate success. The first way is kindness. The second way is kindness. And the third way is kindness. And finally, the world needs a sense of worth, and it will achieve it only by its people feeling that they are worthwhile. I thank you so much for your time. If anybody has any questions, please let me know. I don't know if anybody on Zoom has questions, but anybody have comments or yes?
We have a woman who, I'd say 3 times a year, sends me a card of encouragement and thanks, and I have other staff who do the same card. And it was always handwritten. I recently bought a used car, and that wasn't a lot of money for me. The dealer that I bought the car from, he sent me a card, but it was just like all printed. They were like copies.
Mm-hmm.
So the handwritten one, I have saved from all, like 3 times this year. She sent me the one from the car dealer I got.
Yeah.
What do you say to the people, maybe when you do the rent back acts of kindness online, that are like, we were just looking for?
I get it every year. And it's usually an inbox message because they're too chicken to put it on my post. But I just, they're like, if you were doing the kind act then and you letting us know, then it just takes away from what I'm like, I'm actually doing it to inspire you to see how easy it is to do. And I'm hoping that you'll think about it a little bit more than you did the day before. And normally they don't respond. But and my Make a Difference Mondays, I don't post. I actually will post a quote or something with a hashtag Make a Difference Monday, just as a reminder to my people that may be interested in what I do, that, kind of giving them a heads up, hey, this is the Make a Difference Monday. I've actually just recently started doing video series, and I give a tip every Monday on how to make somebody's day. I think we forget about it, and because it is something that we feel like we should be doing all the time, like opening up a door or saying hello, good morning, smiling. Those are all kind acts and things that we should be doing. It is amazing to me when I go to a store and I hold open the door, I'm like, good morning. I don't work there or anything, but I'm just like, people look at you like, what? I love it. That makes me happy because I know I made their day. Or paying a genuine compliment, somebody says they like my pink shoes. I'm like, thanks. That just makes me happy, And so now when you feel that way, right, then you want to do it to somebody else, just like that research showed. It is totally contagious. But yeah, thank you for sharing. For those on Zoom, he shared that he receives a handwritten note 3 times a year, and then he bought a car, and it was just a printed card of thanks, and he threw that away, but he always keeps the handwritten ones. And handwritten, that goes a long way. I really, and handwritten anything, notes, and that's something I do too. For the Meals on Wheels, I'll write a happy message or whatever in cards and give them to the Meals on Wheels. So it's super simple. Anybody else have any questions? You have a question? Oh, awesome. Yeah. Great. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, so the gender difference of the expectation of a woman having to be more kind than a male. And I think, and that's really why I posed the question of if you think kindness is a weakness, because generally men will move towards, well, if I'm too kind, then I'm weak or I'm a pushover. It's not part of my values. So, and women, we are known as caretakers, typically. And so it's just easier for us to be kind versus the male gender. Does it make a difference if we're male or female? It shouldn't. And unfortunately, it probably gets more applause, as you're saying, when they do something kind, because it is out of the norm. But yeah, I feel like men are just, and there's two in here, so, but they're just seen as more of the macho type. So if you show a different side, then maybe you aren't respected as much. Where in fact, if it's the opposite, right? And I think in today's society, what we've all been through the last few years, showing that compassion, that empathy, and kindness really makes you that stronger of a person, male or female. So, well, thank you for the comments. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Well, please connect with me on social. I'm very active on there. And if the survey didn't work and you want the slides and you want that download, just send me an email. Tell me you were here, but I would love your feedback anyway. Again, this is my passion work, and I hope to get in front of more and more people, and the only way I can do that is if I have your feedback. But thank you so much for being here today, choosing my session. I hope you guys have the great rest of the conference, and I appreciate you. Thank you.